All About the Birds provides you with weekly analysis, game recaps, informative interviews, and it's all birds all the time.
What's going on, everybody? It has been a long time. It's a long layoff. You and I kind of took a brief hiatus. As you know, we know the end of June to the end of July, they have that month layoff. So there isn't much going on, nothing really happening. So we took a little bit of a reset, I guess you can call it, as we gear back up for the season, training camp. We got that all coming up. So of course, there's going to be tons of news. We'll have our weekly shows. We'll go over everything. Wanted to do a training camp type of preview, as training camp is less than 2 weeks away. I believe it is in
9 days tomorrow.
9 days. Yeah, 9 days. No, I think 8 days tomorrow. The 28th, they return. So it's really almost a week away. So it's coming quick, which is nice because there's going to be a lot of news. You got camp battles. You got all that fun stuff. Players who break out, make it a little bit fun here. But Matt, I know we're going to discuss a little bit with some, camp battles, some players that we're looking forward to seeing. Of course, you have all the rookies. I guess to me, that's the main thing. You do want to see how the rookies are performing in camp and undrafted free agents, how these young guys are going. But again, there's some of these other position battles. You look at the backup quarterback role. You have wide receiver, 3-4. You have some of the tight end too. Like you get into a lot here on the defensive side of the ball as well. So I'm very interested to see how some of it plays out. But I'm pretty intrigued. And of course, as we start gearing up into the training camp, you're going to get all the news, the NFL news. Of course, injuries play a big role. There's still veterans out there who could be signed. So there's a lot that's going to be coming in the next week or two, with news and everything that comes with training camp and the end of July and August when it comes to the NFL.
Yeah, we're going to on paper, the roster looks really, really nice. But they're like, as we did this exercise, I'm starting to realize more and more that they're on paper up front. We're very top heavy. I think the depth in certain positions is really lacking, and we'll get into that. So training camp will be important to see where we are with some of these young guys. But it will also be time for Howie to say, hey, we were hoping that so-and-so would step up, but we're going to have to sign a vet, right? Like you said, like this is going to be the time where CJ was added around this time in 2022, right? He was added in August, I think. So like a week or two before camp closed. So this is not the final form of the roster. Obviously, we have the 53-man cutdowns, but I would not be shocked to see some additional players signed over the next month.
And I think too, you have to look at the trade market, because the Eagles have, they've done that in recent years. They've done that in the years where they've went very far with, when it dates all the way back to 2017 and the Ronald Darby trade. And then you look at the CJ-GJ trade. So there's a lot that comes into play, especially with teams as they look at the rosters as camp unfolds. If a player is a veteran that they know they're not going to re-sign, or, they know that, maybe he doesn't fit well here, and they cut bait or they trade or whatever it may be. So you also have to look at that. As you said, the veteran free agents is another aspect to look at as well. But it's going to be very –
And guys like BG.
Yeah.
Right? Like everything – he keeps saying it like he's going to be part of the squad. I don't see where he fits right now, because I think they're going to give some of these younger guys a look. But I wouldn't be shocked if you see BG come back as a 4-eye/edge depth guy. Who knows? And we'll get into that as we dive into our roster battles. But I mean, another one to keep an eye on. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think too is like the one thing what I think of when it comes to like training camp. Like I miss the old days of Bethlehem, and you always have that. That's always one thing.
Yep.
I was actually just talking about it today. I was, with my son and my mom and everything like that. So we were on the way and we were driving toward in Saucon Valley area. So, you drive a little bit further, you get close to Eagles training camp. It's kind of on the way to go. And she said, how old were you when I used to drop you off? And I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
And my first comment was, yeah, I wouldn't be dropping my kids off alone to go see training. It's just weird how things have changed so much. I said, I think I was like 13 or 14 years old, maybe 15 at the oldest.
That's not too bad. And you're not a guy either. So like you probably looked like you were 20.
Well, at that point, when I was like 12 and 13 and 14, I wasn't like a big – I'll just tell you right now, I'm not dropping any of my kids off if they're 12 or 13.
Yeah.
Especially back then, there really wasn't – like there were cell phones, but she said, oh, I'll pick you up at 2:00. And I went and I just watched practice, went into the tents and looked and sat on the bleachers and just watched. So it's just times, of course, have changed, but I do miss that.
It's a little bit different with us too, because like we would want to see the practice, right? Like we want to take. So we wouldn't have that problem, but
that's very true. But no, I just thought about like I miss in Lehigh, and I say it every year. It's just always something that always comes to mind because you have that. It's that nostalgic feel. It's that as you're growing up, it's just something that was always there that isn't there. And I know they have the practice and everything, but that's not the same.
I do miss. They did a lot there. Like I think they did a really good job with that training camp. They had the kids zone. They had the welcome center. They had the autograph sessions where you could get a ticket. Right.
Yep.
They had the pro shop there. They had cheerleaders. They had swoop. They had like the players would come around and sign autograph. Like it was just more. It was like the open practice, but it was more intimate, right? Like I do miss it, and seeing that like welcome to training camp sign and the big scaffolding, and I do miss it. Yeah, I'm sure the players don't.
No, not being in that situation and in the dorms and all. Yeah, so I get that. They want, and they also want to keep their players as close to home as possible, comfortable. Sure. All that comes into play. But for me, like, we can get into some of the position battles. The one that I'm really looking forward to, it was between two actually, but I'm gonna pick this one because I'm thinking you may have an idea on the other one. But for me, I'm going with the running back 3. Like Saquon and Tank, they're 1-2. But to me, what's really interesting is that RB3. Like Shipley is, of course, right now, he's the guy that has that position. But you have guys who have shined in NFL games and NFL seasons with teams, and Dameon Pierce, Elijah Mitchell. Now, I know Carson Steele is kind of in that mold. I know he's like listed as the fullback, but again, he could be running back 3. He's listed as a fullback on our lads. The only place to look at depth charts, in my opinion, other than I used to.
Yeah, I was just looking at their roster to see what they officially list him as.
But to me, I just like Shipley needs to take the reins. Like he's been here for this will be his 3rd season, I believe, and. Dameon Pierce and Elijah Mitchell aren't slouches. Like if they have a good camp, they could easily, go into that role. Now, again, I wouldn't be surprised if, they may keep 4 guys. Like, but again, could that 4th guy be a guy like a Carson Steele or Cam Latu? So there's that comes into play, in my opinion. I'm really interested to see the way. See, that's the weird thing. Like the roster to me and the way that the offense is being basically schemed by Sean Mannion, the way the Green Bay Packers, which he was on, how they did their roster was they usually had a lot more receivers than the Eagles.
7, right?
Like more, I think close to 7. So, and the Eagles are a team that usually they're between 5 and 6 at the absolute most. Yeah. But I'm interested to see how that plays.
Kind of an exception with Cooper, right? And I think they had the luxury of going lighter because they had A.J. Brown and like I don't know if they have that luxury now because they don't really know what they have yet.
Yeah, that whole room though.
RB3 is really interesting because, and I was hoping you were going to bring this up because it's going to make preseason so much more fun to watch too.
Yeah.
When you have running backs that actually are playing for something. They play a little bit harder in the preseason. But like it really
those third preseason games in the third and fourth quarter where it's the backups and we're like locked in, recording it and then rewatching it like psychopaths.
No, I know. We should live stream ourselves watching it because it's bad. I'm interested to see like in the past with Sirianni, you're looking at RB3 as someone who can block and someone who has receiving chops, right? So like Kenneth Gainwell was a good example. Shipley tried to fill that mold a little bit last year, not very well, but I wonder if Mannion with full autonomy feels the same way, or does he want someone that's like Saquon goes down, this guy, I need 1,000-yard rusher, right? Like that's kind of the mold of the like the McVay and the dude from the Niners. Why am I drawing a blank?
Elijah Mitchell. Wait,
no,
Shanahan. Let's talk about the
run. So like you look at that, and you say, do you want a running back that can fill in, or do you want someone that can play that third down role? And that's going to be the question. That's where it's going to be really interesting, because if they want that third down role, Pierce and Mitchell aren't terrible receivers, but that's not how they're built as players. They're like that one cut wide zone type of running back. Shipley's not. Shipley's very much a kind of a scat back. I mean, he'll get those hard yards and he'll hit the hole fast, but he's also a pretty good blocker and he's a pretty good receiver. So I think it will come down to what are they looking at for in running back 3? Are they keeping 4, or do they put one of these guys like Pierce or Mitchell on the practice squad? And then does the battle come down to who can return kicks? Because Shipley returns kicks, Pierce returns kicks. I don't know that Mitchell has ever done it. I'm sure he could. I'm sure they'll ask him to. But like, does that decide RB3? There's a lot of that's why this is so fascinating, because we don't know what they're looking for in that depth at running back.
Yeah. To me, that's a really big key when it comes to the preseason games, is seeing that battle between those guys and who ultimately pulls away.
Yeah.
What's a battle that you're interested to see?
Well, you mentioned the tight end. I think that's pretty fascinating, but I think if we're going fascinating versus important, I think the most important would be along that offensive line, right? And so you look at that swing tackle and you look at swing guard. So like Fred Johnson comes back and you're like, oh, thank God we got our swing tackle. But now we have a new offensive scheme. We don't know if Mannion and Cooper love Fred Johnson the way that Stout does. They play a completely different style. And I think Fred can do it, but he's there. You also have Markel Bell, who it seems like they're throwing him right into the fire to see if he can do it. And then you have guys like Cameron Williams, Hinton. They moved to guard, so that that's going to be really interesting to watch to see how that spells out, because as of OTAs and minicamp, like they had Fred Johnson on the left, they had Markel Bell on the right, and granted, they're just trying shit out, right, and seeing what sticks and play it. But it's going to be really interesting to see that depth chart during training camp to see, is Fred the first one off the bench, and then Markel Bell, and like, do they keep guys like a Cameron Williams? Like that's where the question of running, are they keeping 3 running backs? Are they keeping 6 receivers? Are they keeping 4 tight ends? These are the questions that are going to be answered depending on how it's all going to be answered by the offensive line, right? Because like we've had the luxury of being able to keep it fairly tight at like 9, maybe 10 offensive linemen. Yeah. I don't know if they want to do that, because I don't know if they want to risk losing a Cam Williams, if they want to risk losing a Miles Hinton, right? It's going to be really interesting to see how that works. And then at guard, we were talking about it up front. Like, my concern when going through this is the depth. One of those depth spots is the guard.
Yeah.
And center, really, just the interior. But, Dickerson goes down, and who's coming in? As of right now, the assumption is it's Drew Kendall based on OTAs, but he's 306 pounds soaking wet.
And they did add a veteran, Mike Jordan.
Yeah.
After they went on their month long, but
firing, right?
Yeah, and to me, he's been in this offense because he played with Tampa, where Grizzard was. So, he's familiar with that, so that potentially helps him out there. But that's going to be big because you have Micah Morris, who they drafted in the 6th round. You have Jaden Roberts, who was a college free agent. So it's super up in the air depending on what they do and how these players, like the preseason is going to be huge on these guys and how they develop and who shines and who makes that leap, takes that leap into potentially a 53-man roster spot.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, and I think you would agree, but we prioritize the trenches. I think the 53-man roster comes down to how many are we keeping on the offensive line? And then they go from there, right? Obviously Jalen and Devontae, you have locks, but for the most part, the structure of the roster, I think if I'm Howie, is are we keeping 9 or 10 or 11 offensive linemen? Who can we not risk, going to waivers and potentially not getting the practice squad? And it's going to be that's going to dictate if we keep 2 tight ends or 3 tight ends or 4 running backs versus 3 running backs or 4. It's just it's crazy. That's going to be really, really interesting position. And that's why that's the one I'm watching, because I'm not I don't think Dickerson can make a full season. He hasn't yet, right? He hasn't played a season where he hasn't missed a couple games.
Yeah.
And you have Juergens that came off that Median stem cell, right? And is Kendall the first one up at both those positions? It's super interesting to me, and that's the one I'm going to be watching the most. The sexier pick is the running back, wide receivers, but that offensive line it's going to dictate a lot.
So another one that I'm looking at is the basically you could say the 4th edge. You have Ebiketie. Of course, Nolan Smith is there right now. He's penciled in, I would say, as the 3rd edge.
Yeah.
But you have Ebiketie. They signed AJ Epinesa. So you have those 2 guys. I know they drafted, James Newby in the 7th round, but to me it's Epinesa and Ebiketie, and seeing what those guys have to potentially get. Now again, also if they wind up signing Brandon Graham, I think he would kind of jump into that fold there. But to me, those 2 guys, and signing Epinesa, who was supposed to, I forget where he was supposed to go. Was it Cleveland? I'm trying to think of where he was supposed to go that he failed the physical. They nixed the deal, and that's what led him. Was it?
I think so.
All right.
I'll do that.
So again, that's going to be an interesting, because one, there are 2 totally different types of players.
Yeah, rounds.
For me, it's just they're so different. They're complete opposites on the way they play football.
Yeah.
I'm talking Epinesa and Ebiketie.
Yeah.
So to me, it's going to be interesting to see what they value more. Now, we kind of know what Vic does value, and he really doesn't rotate players. So that's where it's going to be a little bit interesting, because and this kind of falls a little bit with Nolan, I would think, because if Nolan struggles or he winds up getting banged up or dinged up, we're going to see, because he's coming into a contract year, and I'm not really sure the Eagles are going to be giving him a new deal, especially with the players that they still have to sign.
Not if Jalen's going
in the coming years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and they also have him for the 5th year, right? So
yeah, they do.
No, that's a really good point. And my concern there with AK is can he play? Can he play the run? Like we've seen him. I'm sure he can do it, but like I would assume he's going to be the low bar is set at Bryce Huff. I'm assuming he's higher than that, right?
Yeah.
I think Jalen Phillips was really good against the run. It'll be interesting to see if AK or Ebiketie can play the run, because if he shows he can't, Vic's going to be like, you know what, get out of here. I mean, we've seen it multiple times. So that'll be a big one. We know that Epineza can do it. He just can't rush the passer as well. He's not a slouch, but he's not, you know, he's more of the Luke Van Ness.
He's a power. Yeah,
he's the typical Iowa defensive end, right? So yeah, I think that's really interesting. And if they go and say, hey, we need to bring back Brandon Graham, or if Brandon Graham becomes a defensive tackle, 2 birds, 1 stone kind of guy.
Yeah,
it'll be really interesting to see. I also think they're going to miss out on that Patrick Johnson role, and I think that's why they drafted Newbie, to be honest with you. And like, can one of these guys, like an Epineza or AK, play on special teams?
Yeah, that's
the common theme in this conversation is like, can they play special teams? Like we were talking about tight end. I know a lot of people are really high on Daquan Wright, but like, we haven't seen him play special teams. As of right now, if you're looking at like the 4-man setup there at tight end, I give the edge to Cameron Latu because he was awesome on special teams.
Yeah, awesome. made some plays. That's for sure.
He needs some hits, dude. He needs some big boy hits. Towards the end of the season there, he was laying the wood. So, like, it's going to come down to, can you play special teams? And I think it's going to go to the running back. It's going to go to tight end. It's going to go to defensive end. It's going to go to safety, right? Like, all these positions you're going to need to play. I mean, that's no shit, Matt. But, like, the bottom of these roster guys have to step it up, and it's going to come down to special teams.
So I have a question for you. So when you look at this now, again, not saying that any of the undrafted guys are going to make the 53, but again, they could easily be on the practice squad.
I mean, usually one, right?
Usually. Let me get your. We'll each make a prediction here. Yeah. Give me your undrafted free agent. Now it could be undrafted free agent, or like that'll account for some of the UFL players they signed. They signed a couple of them. Yeah. But give me one that you think is going to either make a lot of plays, make the roster, or at least show you enough to solidify a practice squad spot that could potentially be called up because they've played that well in the preseason. Who would you say is that player this preseason? And UR Bernard does not count because he was drafted. Yeah. I'm talking undrafted college free agents.
So, like, the easy one to say is Rocco Underwood because he's the only long snapper on the roster right now.
All right, so we'll discount him.
So can I say there are 3 that I have in mind? Do you want me to say all 3, or do you want to stick with one?
Stick with one, because if I wind up naming one of your other ones, then you can say.
Yeah, that's fair. So I'm going to go with the guy I keep mentioning. I've mentioned him a couple times on the pod. I mentioned him earlier. I don't remember if it was before we jumped on air or not, but Kapina Gushigan from Ole Miss, man. Like he reminds me a lot of Maddox coming out, but he's a little bit faster. Like he's a 4.3 guy. He's built, low to the ground. I think he's 5'9", 5'10". But he can hit, he can cover. He's a nickel safety hybrid that I think they're looking for. Obviously Vic is drawn to that. He likes Cooper DeJean. He likes the idea of Michael Carter switching to that role. I think Gush, as he has called him, which Dude, if you have a nickname already from Vic Fangio, like I pay attention. So I'm going to go with Gush as a potential sneak in there at safety, because I think they're a little light there. I think they're going to like his versatility, and I think he's gonna play pretty well against the 3s and 4s.
So the guy that I have, is Deontay Lawson, the linebacker that they got from Alabama. To me, I just think special teamer is where he's going to make, of course, the most. But I think he's going to show in the preseason, he's going to show his athleticism and why he was highly rated before, of course, this past season. I believe he had some injuries and stuff like that. So fell off a little bit, but I think he's going to really up his game. He's definitely one that I'm really, really interested to watch come preseason. I feel like he can get himself, if he doesn't get a 53-man spot, I think he absolutely will be on the practice squad. But I could definitely see them, keeping 5 linebackers.
I think they're definitely going to keep 5. The question is, who are 4 and 5? Right. So like the top 3 we have at Bond, Campbell, and Trotter, but then you have Mondin, who was a draft pick last year, who's eerily similar to Lawson. Like they're literally both 6'2", 224. They were both captains at SEC schools. They both have the long hair coming out of their helmets. Like they're gonna look really, really similar next to each other. That right there is the battle to watch at linebacker. Do they keep 5? Do they keep 6? And do they keep 5 and then one of these guys gets sent to the practice squad? But the other guy to keep an eye on is Chance Campbell. They like him, dude.
Yeah, and
they like him.
He's a special teams player, and
I've heard multiple people mention him as a keep an eye out for him, coaches, scouts. I've heard a couple people mention him as if it wasn't for injuries, he'd be a starter for the Titans right now. So I think he's one of those guys that could sneak into this lineup, and maybe Smile Mondin is the guy on the outside looking in.
Yeah, because when you take a look at, I'm looking at Chance Campbell, and of course, he said with the Tennessee Titans, he's 6'2", 232. He played 4 games in 2023 for the Titans. He was a 6th round pick in 2022.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But he suffered injury in warm-ups between week 10 and put him on injury reserve back in 2023. Ending his season, he played 4 games. And then he had suffered a torn ACL in late August of the next season, 2024. So he missed the whole 2024 season. So then the following August, the Eagles signed him. They waived him, but then re-signed him to the practice squad the next day. And he's been on the Eagles practice squad since then. So, usually when you tear your ACL, it takes about, a year, a little over a year till you're finally back to yourself. So again, he could easily
tear it too, right? You're doing a lot of lateral stuff as a linebacker, so that's tough.
So this could be his chance. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do, in terms of who makes the roster. It's going to be fun. I love that. I love the aspect of seeing who's shining. This is going to be a big year for Ty Robinson. He needs to take that next step. There's a lot.
That's a big one. Man. That's a big one. That's going to dictate a lot about how he goes about the rest of this offseason, man.
Because there are guys that are breathing down. I know he was a 4th round pick, but there's guys breathing down. Byron Young played really well last year. You still have Gabe Hall, Taquan Graham, Zion Wilson, Uar Bernard. There's guys there that if he struggles, they'll gladly snag that spot. If they're playing well. So,
BG, I think played really well in that 4-eye. So
BG as well.
I wouldn't hate them bringing him back in that position if he doesn't take that step. So, on the trend of UDFAs, who's your honorable mention?
The honorable mention, I would give is Daquan Wright.
Yeah.
It's a
So
guy.
my honorable mention would be Jaden Roberts.
Okay.
I think that backup guard position is wide open. Wide open.
I think you're right. You know, I
But
would have probably
tight end 4. So
yeah, but I think the other thing is I would have said I really want to see Zion Wilson just because he switched from offensive line to defensive line, played really well, was supposed to transfer to a bigger school and got denied. So then the Eagles signed him.
ECF or East Carolina.
East Carolina.
Yeah.
So,
interesting sign.
2024, he played 13 games, logged 70 snaps on special teams. You had no stats in terms of defense. 2025, he played defensive tackle. He's like 6'3", 320. So he's a big boy. He finished with 10 tackles for loss. He finished with 42 tackles total, 7 sacks.
Yeah, he was a beast.
For someone of that size, and especially if he was going to transfer up, I forget where he was transferring to. I don't know if it was Maryland, maybe. Trying to remember. I don't remember exactly where he was supposed to transfer to. But it was definitely a bigger school than ECU, a step up in the competition, and they denied it. So then he had to go the undrafted route because the draft was already over. So he had to, he just went that route, which was interesting because I would think, I don't know what the particulars for the supplemental draft would have been, but maybe he didn't qualify or didn't want to. Virginia. Okay. Maryland, Virginia, they're close enough. They're about the way they play. Okay. But again, that's a big step up. And if he would have went up again and put up similar numbers or close enough to those numbers, he probably would have been 4th, 5th round pick with his size and everything.
He's almost identical measurements to Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
Just like physically. He doesn't have the same skill, but like he's physically he's very similar build.
You can't tell me it wouldn't be fun now. What if if Ty Robinson struggles and you have Zion Wilson start playing like a Byron Young type of he improves, improving himself. Like,
dude,
I'd love to have that. That'd be a fun. I think he's gonna be a fun player. I think that
I love that
defensive tackle room, like the end. It's gonna be fun to watch in the preseason to see who may take that leap. Terrifying in the fact that you don't exactly know what the hell you have.
Right. So Ty Robinson, if he doesn't step up, you're kind of screwed, right? Like you have your top 4, assuming Byron Young is your dude, right? And then you have Ty, you have Gabe, you have Zion, Taquan Wright could be either a defensive end or inside guy. I mean, he's too big to be an edge. He's like 294, so I assume he's inside. But and Uar has never played football before, so outside of that top 4, and you're playing 3 at one time most of the time, like especially in base. So
he's got to put the trust in Clint Hurt,
dude. If he can get something out of Ty and Zion, then you're set. But that's going to be that's probably the position, that and safety, I think, are the 2 positions, maybe guard, where I could see them adding people before the season.
Yeah. Again, yeah, absolutely. I could definitely see that. If they get in the first week of camp and it looks okay, we need to get somebody else in here. And again, wouldn't be surprised if it's the BG thing or something along the lines of that, and they work him into that rotation, which I'm totally fine with that. But no, it's going to be fun.
And let me ask you a question. You're starting tomorrow is week 1 at Washington. Who's your kick returner and who's your punt returner? You have 2 kick returners and a punt returner. Give me them.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
I'm gonna go with this. The kick returner is gonna be Dameon Pierce because he's gonna have the RB3 role.
Wow, that's your prediction? You the spoiler alert? You just say-
Sure, I'll go with that.
Okay, Damon's your 3. All right.
And punt returner. Like I want to, you know what? This
because you have 2 back there now because of the kickoff.
It'll be one of the receivers, just as a blocker. I don't fucking know. I don't know.
Like, so, but this is my problem. It's like
let's go to punt returner quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's going to be Britton Covey because he's going to be on the practice squad and they're going to elevate him.
Okay.
So that one's easier one.
But so the reason I ask about kick returner is
Cam Latu. He'll be the blocker.
He's going to be out there for sure. Is like you have Pierce and Shipley. I think that's your battle for running back 3 because they can return kicks. And I think Elijah Mitchell probably goes to practice squad, right? Mm-hmm. And then what about I could see a world where Ezekama makes the roster because he's familiar with the scheme.
Yeah.
He kind of reinvented himself in the UFL as a kick returner. And he can play special teams. Like he can hit too. I think he's a sneaky fan favorite in the preseason.
Johnny Wilson versus Ezekama as a big blocking receiver?
Yeah. Maybe Johnny Wilson gets traded for a depth guard.
There's a lot there. We'll save it for our episodes coming up because we're gonna have a lot to talk about as camp is just right around the corner. But wanted to get the preview in since we hadn't done it for a little bit here. But should be fun, and we'll be back to our weekly episodes. And the way we always end it is a very happy and joyful. Go Birds!
Hey guys, it's Davo. Some people call me Davo Philly. I'm here with Big Dom, and check out All About the Birds. Go Birds!
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Ian. Make sure you're following All About the Birds. I absolutely love their content.
Just wanted to give the guys over at All About the Birds a huge shout out.
Hey, for all the Eagle content you need, go follow All About the Birds. They do a damn thing. Check them out.
Hey Eagles fans, I may be in Tampa, but I know where to find the best Eagles content out there. Check out my friends at All About the Birds.
Philadelphia, what's up? This is your boy Freddie Mitchell, a.k.a. Fred X. It's all about the birds.
All birds all the time.
All birds all the